I'm starting a couple of minutes early today. I'm doing my camera differently than normal, and I just want to make sure that I have everything prepped and stay on target this morning. Looks like we've got about 1 minute to go until I'm supposed to be live. But what I wanted to go ahead and get started with, I'll discuss this real quick. I have to leave by 11 o'clock to go bring my husband's car to the Ford place to get a new tire. And then I'm going to have lunch with my grandson at his school for Christmas dinner. So I'm excited about that. And real quick, if you've been following me for a little while, these are 4 little paintings that I sketched out a month or so ago. We've already done this one and this one, so we're going to do something similar to this one today, just the 3 crosses on a heel. And I decided to limit the colors that we're going to use. I have a 6x6 canvas. Looks like it's got some glitter on it, like everything else I own right now since it's Christmas time. And I got out burnt umber and burnt sienna because they were already laying here on my desk. This is some yellow ochre that I picked up at Hobby Lobby because I ran out, and I don't even have my palettes here at home right now. So I've got this palette paper, but you could use wax paper, parchment paper, paper plate, or whatever you want. I've got my white. I'm gonna add that in, and I didn't count that as a color, or at the time I thought I had a different color to use, so we will add white in there. So we're gonna be doing something similar to that. Let's see, oh no, that is not the right time. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Okay, it's definitely time. I'm gonna try to make this quick. So if you're joining me, say hi, give me a thumbs up, tell me where you're from, something so that I'll know you're here. But I can't see the comments this morning. I'll have to come back to those. But I just wanted to come in and let's get something going this morning before I left for work, or before I left for lunch with my grandson at school. Using my Mr. bottle here and just dampening my palette a little bit. You know, it wouldn't be me if I don't go to the school with paint on my fingers, I'm supposing. Okay, let's just dampen that. To me, it absorbs a good bit of paint, and when I do that, it goes on the surface better. I'm just going to squirt the paint directly on my canvas this morning. Because, why not, right? You want this to be a little bit of on a heel. I'll make a kind of a good size heel here. I'm going to leave the paint a little bit thick like that. It's going to take a little while to dry, of course, but I'll leave it here when I go. You know, I like to get those edges. And I'm just using whatever this funky palette knife here is called. Can't see it, but I'll if you're interested in it, I'll put a link to it from Blick, because that is where I got it at. And my paints are the Blick acrylics. They're heavy bodied and you can work with them so much better, but they're also, you know, way less expensive than some of the other brands. When you're doing a palette knife painting, it doesn't have to cover completely, but I do want my indication of a heel there to be at least decent. And if you didn't get enough the first time, you can always grab some more paint to go on there. But what I'm going to do is go over that with some of the darker paint later, as I do want to get this pretty quick like. Okay, I'm going to just dip that in water. I got a rag right here. Just going to pull most of that off. And I'm going to put a little bit of white on there so I don't forget that part. This is going to be so that I remember to have and I'm not getting a whole lot, so that I remember to have the sun coming in back behind my crosses. I've got this leftover white still on my brush now. Just going to come in and try to fill in some of these areas where I didn't have enough paint. That one off. Seems so quiet in here this morning. Now my background color is going to be this yellow ochre. So let's put a little of this around. And let's go back to this one because I do love this one. I hope that's still centered where you can see it real well. And remember to turn your canvas. You don't have to always make it hard on yourself to try to figure out how to get your arm twisted and contorted into every which shape to get your paint where you want it. Just move your canvas. I'm still just leaving that white right there while I get the sides done, because I want to get as much as I can of this yellow ochre off of my palette knife. Can y'all see that good? Hope you can see it. I put quite a bit up there, but I want it to be chunky. I want you to be able to tell without me having to use a texture paste or texture medium in here. I want there to be texture on the piece, and I want it to all go pretty quick, but you don't want it on there so thick that it'll crack later on. And it has to be pretty thick for that, so don't worry about it if you're just doing it like this. And that's the beautiful part of using these palette knives too, is it just spaces that have no paint left on them and things like that are expectations. It's part of the look of the piece. So let me get a different one. I'm going to go back to this one to try to have this still be the yellow ochre color, but lighter through there. Picking up a little bit of the darker to come more on these edges around the top. I'm just thinking about where would the sun be shining down from. I'm leaving it a little bit lighter there. Boom, that's enough of that. Now I'm going to have to I'm going to use the burnt umber, which is my darkest color, and I'm going to put it on my palette paper here. Probably not going to take much, but see how thick that is? You can always, that's the good thing about using these heavier bodied paints, is I can use water and thin that out, but if I'm using something like this, I got to add everything in the world to try to thicken that up. I just love using these paints so much better. They make my life so much easier because you can get all kinds of different textures and looks. Okay. I'm going to go back to this one. This is my favorite today. It's my favorite a lot of days. You can tell by all the blobs of paint on it. But let's move these to the left and see if I can get this here. I'm going to want to do 2 or 3 things, and I'm going to dip in here first. And this is always the part to remember. You're holding your palette knife very, very lightly. I'm so heavy-handed, so this is a learning curve for me. But I'm going to dip it in here. And the thing is, if I go real hard on here and I'm trying to draw with it like it's a pencil, it is hardly going to make any mark at all. But if you keep yourself really light-handed, you can make a bit of a mark. So I'm wanting to come down and put just a bit of a mark to indicate a little more about my heel there. And you see that I'm not trying to stay in line and make the line straight. And, you know, there's some of the darker here on there. That is all absolutely supposed to be that way. Okay. We're going to do the crosses now here. And remembering that our light is there. And I'm going to wet this just a tad and try to thin this out just a little bit before I get started so that it'll spread a little better, because you may not have to do this if you're, you know, all feminine and light-handed and dainty and all that stuff, but I am a get her in there and get her done kind of girl, so that I struggle with that, and I'm learning. I'm trying so hard to learn to be more gentle. Okay, we're going to do our larger one first, and I'm going to have it, should I have it come all the way up to the top? What do y'all think? Maybe not, maybe just about right here. I'm just going to get the indication of where it goes first. And you could probably actually leave it like that and still be okay. I think I'm going to lean this one just a little bit. See, I'm being too hard again. All being in a, hey, let me get this on here, instead of enjoying the process and being light-handed. Look at the difference there when you stop and think about it. And I'll have this one lean this way just a tad because of the heel. And it could be left alone there like that, and that's an indication of the crosses and should be enough, but I really want them to be thicker, so I'm just going to get and dab and get and dab. Ooh, I got too much that time. This is so simple, and there's no doubt in my mind that everybody here could do this, and they could do it quick, and if you were to give it to someone as a gift, that you know, made it out of your heart, that they would absolutely love it. I'm going a little bit smaller with these because they are of, I don't want to say lesser significance, but in the art terms, they would be of lesser significance. They're in the background. They're not the most important part of the painting. And we are going to go all the way off the top here. See here, it's blobbing. I like the blobbing. The blobbing is good, and that's where it's over that white and it's thinner under there. And how long has this taken us? Like less than 15 minutes, and it's done. Now if you choose, can come back in and try to bring a little more shadow in on your heels, even around your edges, to kind of frame it in. And it seems to sort of give it a little more of a finished look. Just dabbing with what's on there. You see, we got our light sort of shining through there, so we don't want to come down through that area. But we'll darken a little bit more down through here. Darken a little bit more under here. This is the shadow side. And if you want, very carefully. I'm not on mine, but this is an option for you if you wanted to. You could come in very, very lightly with a thin line here and create a shadow. And I'm going to leave it alone because I'm in a hurry today, and there's now I've got this, and I think it always looks real good to have a little bit of the dark around your edges. So while this is laying here and it's there, I'm going to go back in and find any place that I might have missed any, or just want it to look more aged and time worn. Add a little more. Okay, last thing you want to do, I have a phone call that I should have answered, but the other thing that you're going to want to do, and I'm going to try to do it with this tiny one here, hopefully you can see that, is sign it. This is your piece of art. So I'm just going to put a very small T right here. And it's done. Let's see, I can probably see some of the comments. Thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate that. And thank you, Liz. And I appreciate y'all. And I know this was a quick live, but this is something I could have easily had 4 of these right here together and done all, thank you, Liz, and done all 4 of them at the same time, and had, you know, one for each of my kids, and, you know, or their in-laws, or just a quick, simple something that shows I'm giving a gift from my heart to give to people. And I know that they, you know, that they always appreciate that. And I appreciate y'all for checking in. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.